Just briefly going, when you mentioned about quite a bit way back earlier, you mentioned the popular vote in various states. I'm just wondering, was Obama the last president to win the popular vote when being elected? Was it Obama? Was that? I don't think any party, given how polarized the electorate has become, I don't think has any sitting president won the popular vote, or is it just the Electoral College in recent elections?
Well, now Obama won the popular and the electoral college easily both times.
Yeah.
2008, you had a largely, kind of a Republican Party that had pretty much used up all of their storehouse of merit.
Mm.
Bush was not running, and he just wanted to be finished with it all. And what with the big financial crash that year and
Yeah.
stuff, Obama won. He won easily too. It was They were saying Obama's margin was just short of a landslide. He got like nearly 54% of the vote.
Mm.
Then in 2012, he got a majority of the electoral and the popular vote again, but
Mm.
not as high or not as much as it had been before. I think in 2012, I think he got 52 or 52.5% of the vote, which is still,
Mm.
he still clearly won, but he wasn't as popular as he had been before. Then, of course, 16 is when, Trump won with a minority of the popular vote. And then this one, last time, Biden won more votes than Trump did, but with all the minor candidates and stuff in there too, I think that Biden actually got a minority of the popular vote as well, because you had the Green Party and the Constitutional Party and a whole bunch of other, the American communists and the libertarians
I
and
see.
stuff.
So what if you if you interpret it in a different way, then if you incorporate other vote shares of other sort of politically aligned parties, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
so I don't know exactly what the numbers would be, but I think all those with the Republican vote and on the votes of all the minor parties, kind of put those all together, that probably would have been just a little bit more than Biden had.
Mm.
Now, when you say that, those votes didn't go to Biden, there were parties that were even more left wing than the Democrats who voted for their guy rather than for Biden. But again, when you look at the votes strictly as like the Biden votes or the non-Biden votes, the non-Biden people might actually have had a slight majority, very
Mm.
slight, but they may have actually had a slight majority. So anyway, with the Electoral College, and of course, you know, I remember, of course, in 2000 and then in 2016, where you've got minority presidents, but that's and people. I was teaching over at Southern Illinois University at the time, and I had this one group of like this group of soccer playing UK football playing girls in the class, and they rarely came to class, and they skipped the class today when I talked about the electoral college, and then they were all Al Gore supporters, and they came in the day after the election that year, and they were, "That's not fair." And I said, "That may not be fair, but it is constitutional." And
Mm.
if you three had actually come to class on the day of the Constitution lecture, you would know that. But they didn't appreciate that. But
Mm.
that's again, I don't. A lot of Americans don't know that at all.
Mm.
They don't realize that you got to win a majority of the states and state electors.
Mm.
And that's like they just think you go and you win and you total up 39 million votes for one guy and 38.5 million for the other guy, and that's it. And I said, no, that's not it. You have to win. And they're like, that's very, very anti-democratic. And I said, well, it is, but it's not. I said, you want a presidential candidate to demonstrate that he or she, whoever they are, has an appeal across the country, not simply in the big cities and they're hated
Mm.
out rural areas. You got to show that you can win, only, not simply winning in California and New York and Pennsylvania, but you also got to at least have some appeal to the people out there in Kansas and in Montana and in kind of New Mexico and stuff like that. And that's why they designed the electoral college to keep the big states from dominating the small ones.
Mm.
And it does work that way pretty well. And And back in the day when let's see now, Grover Cleveland won the election in 1884, and in 1888 he got 200,000 more votes than the Republican candidate, but he ended up losing New York and he ended up losing the election. And
Mm.
he didn't jump around and scream and stomp around and throw things. He said, well, that's the Constitution and I lost. He said, but he told his White House staff, he said, I want everything here to be exactly the same when I return 4 years from now. Yes, it is right now. So he was already like, okay, I lost this one, we'll win the next one.
Mm.
And I don't know, it's just a professional
Yeah.
politician thing. You have an election, you win, maybe you win, maybe you lose, but then you immediately start preparing for the next one. So